What is a beech mast? In New Zealand we have a thing called a beech mast, and it's good and it's bad. It's good for our native birds because it provides a lot of food for them. It's also bad because it provides a lot of food for our introduced predators which eat our native birds. And so it has good points and bad points. And we'll have a chat about those as we go along. Oh, good morning. Welcome to Observing Nature with Jamie. Beautiful atmosphere here this morning. Just in the fog. Nice lone beech tree. Tough old one this. The tree's growing bigger, obviously. Got these great big cracks up it. It's had this for years. This old beech tree, it's been out here in the open on its own for a long time. Often used to use it as a to check the beech flower and the beech tree, what the beech seed levels were like. The beech flower. Oh, there's some beech seed. No, hang on, what do we got here? Lots of beech buds. Beeches are budding, ready for, there's a long way to wait till spring. All there, prep, ready to go. There's a bit of old seed. Not that old really. Yeah, in the middle there's a bit of beech seed, mountain beech seed. One random seed there. From last year. Usually it's mostly fallen off by now. Yeah, there's a little bit of seed here, so it hasn't all fallen off. Not much seed, just the odd one here and there. So the mountain beech tree usually grows in a tall forest I've been going through, but in the ohm here they bloom out. Here's some beech seed here. It's a little wee seed. It's hard to tell with the buds beside it. So yeah, the mountain beech seed in this, well, mountain beech is the prominent beech in this forest, but there's also red beech and silver beech. And yeah, there's some seed capsules of the seed that's fallen. They're just in here. Seeds falling out of that one. So a very light bit of seed on here from this last summer. Very light. And a bit of beech seed up in there. You can just see that. Okay, so here we have a young red beech tree out on the bush edge. So it's got leaves down low unusually. Big towering giants in the forest. So you can see it's got quite big leaves. Comparatively to the beech tree, mountain beech tree. So yeah, it's red beech leaves. And over here we've got the mountain beech. They're a lot smaller. See my hand there, they also don't have any serrations. It's sort of just a oval with a point on it. So more silver beech tree leaf here. You can see the little rounded sort of serrations on it. Tiny little black mold growing on this one. Not unusual in these damp places. There's a red beech over here. There's only a small red beech, but you can see the leaves here are quite a bit bigger. They also got more of a definite vein. Actually, that's another thing. The red beech has more of a vein showing up in the leaf, whereas the vein doesn't really show up so much. There's a vein there in the silver beech leaf, but it's not dark. It's more like a black line in the red beech. And these ones here, quite remarkably, the light behind it. So you can see the black veins and the red beech leaf. It always amazes me how different the tree trunks are on these trees. You see these silver beech, a lot more moss hanging on them, a lot more of this sort of licheny moss, way more moss, whereas the red beech, like one over here, got almost no moss growing on it. So here the silver beech and red beech beside each other. So the silver beech is on the left, got a lot more moss growing on the trunk. The red beech is the raw on the right, it's got the darker, heavier, flakier bark. Different between silver beech, like this one here, and red beech. There is moss on this red beech around the side here. The trees got a little bit, but not nearly as much as like the silver beech has got it all around every side. So it makes it easy to identify them from the trunk. Silver beech flower has a slight purpley colour to it, but different from mountain beech has a real scarlet red, and red beech has a red colour, slightly duller, unless it's really dense, than the mountain beech. And then silver beech has a slightly purple coloured flower, and the seed of a silver beech has really spiky spikes on it, on the seed capsule. So it's silver beech. So red beech, as far as the ecosystem goes in the beech masting, red beech has the biggest leaf, has the biggest tree around here, also has the biggest seed. So red beech seed's probably got, I don't know, maybe 2 times as much protein as a mountain beech seed. This is just poles of red beech here. It's all regenerating red beech, mostly red beech, all red beech. So the red beech grows up to 1,300, well up to 1,200 metres, but mostly it grows lower down, below 1,000 metres, and on the big sort of terraces and sunnier, flatter spots. Not necessarily flat, but it does tend to be on the predominant thing on the flatter areas around here. So yes, mountain beech tree. So one of the things about this eastern beech forest that we have in Canterbury and a lot of the South Island is that the beech trees don't seed every year. They seed every, it depends on the seasons, depends on what they think's happening. If it's been really dry, then the beech trees will seed heavier. That's what we call beech mast in New Zealand. When a plant is flowering heavier than it does, it doesn't do it every season, every few seasons, every 2 to 5 years probably for a beech tree, beech forest. And so yeah, we call it a beech mast. And so it's good in some ways. It provides lots of seed, which is lots of protein for birds, particularly parakeets. The yellow crowns and the orange fronts do really well. When there's lots of beech seed, they'll actually breed more. Normally they do 1 clutch a season, 1 nest, but when there's a beech mast, the beech seed will stay around on the trees and on the ground all the way through into winter, and they can pick it up off the ground all the way through to about August really, when it starts sprouting in September and November. So it makes heaps of food for them. So the parakeets will breed. They have a boom and bust type of bird with their breeding, and so if there's a beech mast and lots of beech seed, so lots of protein for them to eat, they will have more than 1 clutch. That's really a good thing about the beech mast. The bad thing about beech mast is that seed source and protein provides lots of food for the mice and the rats, and then the mice, we get a mouse plague. The mouse are running all over the place, coming into your house, yeah, chewing on things, being a real pain at home. And if you're out in the bush or in a hut that's full of mice, it's not very nice. Any mice that have been building up over the summer on general good warmth and food will suddenly have a big supply of food, and so the mice will boom, and then they'll breed right through the winter along with the rats, because there's heaps of extra food for the rats, and so the mice will actually breed right through the winter. So you've got this big plague of, well, you've got this big build up of mice during the winter when normally the mice would die for the winter, and so they build up, and then come the next spring you have a mouse plague, and once the seed and spring germinates and all the seeds gone off the ground, and then your mouse plague shifts on to eating other things. So yeah, the mouse plague shifts on to eating other things, berries and spring shoots, and once the birds start nesting. Now, yeah, the mice will even eat each other if it's really bad. If there's a shortage of food, especially on the road, you see them squash and split it on the road. Anyway, a bit gruesome, but anyway, so the mice have mouse plague so the following spring, after building up all winter, and it can be a plague proportion to the winter, depending on how hard the winter is. And then the rats as well are built up, and so you've got heaps of rats, a mouse plague and a rat plague. It might crash with the lack of beech seed on the ground once it germinates. The mice might crash, or they might carry on if there's enough food of other sources. And the rats the same. Yeah, so the stoats have been seeing through the winter that there's lots of mice around, and so they know there's lots of food. So the stoats have big litters in the spring. So the mice and the rats have been breeding all winter. If the snow's not too freezing and heavy, even the mice can live under the snow. There's beech seed there. So they've been breeding all winter, and so the stoats have seen that, and so the stoats have big litters that spring. So they might be having litters of 8 to 12 instead of 3 to 6. And so that means we get a stoat plague building up, and then once because the stoats are juveniles and that, they're hanging around in one area. But yeah, then come the middle of summer, late summer, there's the stoats going everywhere as the juvenile ones spread out and around. Well, obviously they've been annihilating everything in the area where they were bred, or where they grew up. But then yeah, come mid-late summer it's even worse as they spread out all over the place, and that's when the birds get hammered the most by the stoats. They can get hammered by the rats then at that point too, when they're breeding, or when the birds are nesting, particularly like mohair and parakeets that are hole nesters. The rats can climb trees and get in holes and eat the eggs, and they like eggs. It's little eggs and little holes, so rats are good at predating on mohair and parakeet nests. And so yeah, if you've got a big, there's been a couple records of mohair population collapses and parakeets due to rat plagues after a beech mast. So yeah, particularly so the winter, and the rats come out of the beech mast, run out of breeding all winter, and they run out of beech seed, and then as all suddenly spring, there's all these little birds making holes in trees, laying little wee protein eggs for them. So they hold to them because there's not enough beech seed left. Which stoats are our sort of number one enemy for our native birds in New Zealand, along with feral cats and weasels and ferrets. Ferrets and weasels are a bit more local. Our weasels are pretty much a lot of places. Ferrets are a bit more localised, adjacent to open country. They don't live so well in the heavy bush, so they're more associated with open land. It's a bit drier. There's stoats everywhere, on mountain tops, in the snow. Same with feral cats. We used to think feral cats were down low, but they're everywhere. Anyway, so the beech forest, we have a beech mast, which is great for the birds. That's in the short term because they breed really well. Bad for the birds in the long term because the next season they get hammered by lots of predation from rats climbing the trees, and stoats climbing the trees into their nests and predating them on the ground. Stoats are very agile climbers, so along with rats. And so particularly the bird species here that are interested in the mohair and the parakeets, they both nest in holes in the beech trees, or in other trees, but mostly beech trees around here, because that's what there is. And they have nice knotty holes. So this is a dead red beech, but it gives you an example of all the knotty holes. You can see lots of good bird nesty type holes. Particularly good looking one just down over here. It's a prime spot for a parakeet nest. Shouldn't be any, of course. There, and then further up there, those knotty holes. Excellent for parakeets, orange-fronted and yellow crowns to nest in. And so they both nest in holes in trees, which makes them very susceptible, well, even more susceptible to rats and stoats, because they can run up the trunk into the hole. They don't have to go out along the boughs and the branches, which they can do for the other birds.
But yeah, so sadly, yep, these two birds, or three bird species, are very susceptible to rats. The rat numbers here aren't that bad compared to the west coast side of the mountains, but when they get high for this area, for this ecosystem, then they just really can wipe out the mohua potentially. So that's why Department of Conservation does lots of work in this valley and other valleys to try and eradicate pests through trapping and using toxins. When it's really bad and there's a beech mast, they'll use toxins dropped from the air from a helicopter on mass, low volume, but covering the whole terrain as much as possible.
So measuring the beech mast. So when there's a beech mast, obviously the beech seed is falling, and so Department of Conservation mainly leads the monitoring of beech seed fall, because the amount of food it provides for the predators and the rats to make a plague. So other organisations also help, but so primarily DOC wants to know how much seed fall is going to be when there's a beech mast, so they can plan to prepare for predator control operations. If it's going to be heavy seed falling, there's going to be lots of mice and rats around, so they want to control that and get in before it happens. So there's 4 or 5 ways to measure the beech seed fall that Department of Conservation uses with help from others. So first off, temperature modelling. So if you have one warm summer followed by a warmer summer, then there's a good chance you'll get a beech mast. So they do temperature modelling across the country that gives them heat maps of where they like to get heavy beech masting and seed fall. And then after that, you look at the flower. Landcare Research does work for DOC with that, looking at the flower from satellite imagery across the country, and that can give them a bit of indication as well. And then once the seed has set on the trees, then you can measure the seed on the trees. So DOC will fly around in a helicopter, person hangs out of the helicopter, cuts off branches from beech trees on a transects up and down the hills, so up and down the mountainside, lower up to the top, taking so many branches per line and transect. Then all those little big branches get taken back in, and then someone has to go through and cut off small branchlets off them to compare. And so they're basically counting how many seeds on each little branchlet, about the size of your hand, and then that can give you a measuring tool of whether the beech seed on the tree is at a high level or a low level. And then the next way to measure the beech seed is when it actually falls on the ground. So use the funnels, transects, work out the number of beech seeds per square metre on the ground, and then you know how much has actually fallen. And you can also check the viability of it a little bit then, if people are onto it. So yeah, 4 or 5 ways to check whether the beech mast is happening, or how big it's going to be, and how much of a mouse plague or rat plague it's going to create. Okay, just coming up. So because of the beech masting, conservation people and people protecting the birds want to know when there's lots of beech seed fall, which you can tell by seeing how heavy the flower is some years in the spring, but also when the beech seed actually falls down. I want to see if it's viable. So this over here, we have a thing in the forest. So this is a beech seed fall trap. So the leaves fall into there, and any beech seed that's falling out of the sky, which ones have been cleared since last year. Look at it, it's got a beech tree growing in it. So the beech seed falls into there, and so basically they have a line of these, maybe usually 10, and it's a way of measuring how much beech seeds there is each year, comparing the seed levels. And you can work it out to how square metres. This is this circumference here, obviously that's a certain area of ground. It's probably smaller than the old ones, but it's probably 1/4 of a metre or something, or a square 1/2 a metre maybe of ground, equivalent of ground. This area
is equivalent to a bit of the ground where the seed falls, so you get an idea how much seed's going to be on the ground. But also because these lines are set up and been here for years and years, you can compare over the years how much seed's falling, whether it's heavy or low or medium, or there's none at all. So when there's a beech mast, someone comes along and empties it out and takes the seed away, and all the seed has to be sorted out of the leaves. Some person with some patience has to count all the beech seed. So it's a never-ending battle to try and save New Zealand's wildlife, but we love it, we want to care for it, and we want to protect it and not have it go extinct. So sadly it means to kill off other animals to do that we introduced at some other point historically as new people to New Zealand, and kind of stuffed it up by introducing the wrong things. Never mind, this is what we've got. We've still got a beautiful valley here, still got beautiful forest. It might be modified slightly or a bit from historically, but everything has seasons and changes, and everything's changing all the time in the world. It never stays the same for too many thousands of years. So yeah, beech forest.
So yeah, this is mostly big red beech. Great big red beech. Odd silver beech in here. Let's see if we can get a bit of a view. Not going to hear me now. Right, there's a good stand of giant beech, 1 metre diameter girths on them, close to 1 metre. Pretty cool to see. Pretty about the fog. This big old monster over here. Can't even get near his bottom branches, so big. Got a split there in the middle, which is not uncommon. And then there's a silver beech here, all the green on them. There's a silver beech tree. Going up towards the sky there. And then over here, I don't trip over something. Another big monster red beech. Starting way down the bottom here, they have the great big buttresses. It's a common thing of red beech, it's a big buttress that sticks out like that. Comes up, and then there's a small branch, some smaller branches, and then another big fork. And if you keep going up, the mighty great big red beech. We're only about a third of the way up to the top of them probably. So the beech mast cycle in summary. So in the spring you get the beech trees flower. Get lots of pollen floating around if it's really heavy. You'll see it in the sunsets particularly. And then over the summer the seed sets. At the end of summer, from the end of late February through to April and even to May, the beech seed will be falling on the ground, depending where it is and what altitude it's at. And then the mice and the rats start feeding on it all winter, and they breed up during the winter. And then the stoats see the all the food running around them, so they have bigger families than usual. Normally a stoat probably, apparently will have about between 3 and 6 kits, but they're capable of having up to 12. So in a beech mast they'll probably have between 8 and 12 kits, so that's almost doubling the population of stoats. So yeah, so the mice and rats have bred all through the winter, come to spring, run out of food because the beech seeds all sprouted or been eaten up by everything, birds, and because the birds like it too. And then so the mice and rats turn to all other things, and birds' eggs included, so the rats are really bad for predating the birds' eggs in the holes from the parakeets and the mohua, because they nest in holes in trees, so the eggs are very susceptible to rats and stoats. And so yeah, and the stoats have their big families, and so they a lot more of them around than usual. And then come midsummer, after Christmas, then the stoats, all the juvenile stoats have grown up and learned how to hunt and kill and do what they're supposed to do, keep themselves alive, and they all run off around the countryside further afield than where they've been, and they just wreak havoc on our native birds. Thanks for joining me today to learn about what beech masts are. Hope you learn a bit. If you want to know any more about beech masts, put a post in the comment. We'll try and help you out. Find information for you. Catch you around.